Jean is here.
Welcome, everybody, to another episode of Starseed Activations. We just want to welcome Jody Powers for joining us today. She is only going to be on the audio. She is not going to be on the video today because of
technical difficulties. But we're making it work.
I don't think I worded that right.
Because
what do I say? Fantastic. Well, at least we get everyone starting with belly laughs. That's the most amazing way to start a channeling session. Now, belly laughter is also connected to bliss frequency. So when we start to laugh and we start to activate that type of energy inside of us, it makes us feel good. We know that. But what we're actually doing is we are summoning down a little bit more and more of the source frequency each and every time we start to laugh, because that laughter triggers your heart. Your heart goes right up to the higher self, and you're pulling more of your essential frequency down into the body. So we just ever so gently want to say, thank you so incredibly much, dear star people, for this channeling tonight. Thank you so much for bringing forward the best and most in-aligned information that is for all of the people watching. And thank you so much for doing an energetic clearing on each and every one of the individuals watching this video. This is going to work throughout time and space. We are going to start tonight's channeling, dear ones, with a brief Om. This Om is going to open and expand your heart chakras, allowing a higher frequency to resonate into your entire physical body. This then is going to allow for a higher caliber channeling to take place. And we are sending each of you many, many love and blessings, dear ones. Deep breath in. One more deep breath in. Beautiful, dear ones. Okay, Jody.
Thank you so much.
Yes, thank you.
That feels really good. Yes. So tonight we're doing page 187 for the topic of Triggered Day, Chaos Energetics. Yes, in the book. Perfect. So I want to read the first part, the first paragraph. Depending on solar activities, many individuals may notice days where experiences may come to their awareness in order to release density in the physical reality. These days are known as trigger days or chaos energetic days. Now, Teresa mentioned, I think, a couple of times trigger days in the last couple of weeks. So do you think that you could talk about trigger days? Why did she mention it in the last couple of weeks and she's never mentioned it before? Is this a topic that we need to know right now currently because it's the solar activities are so strong? Or
well, whenever we start to see the star people mention different, let's just call them topics, but a trigger day in itself generally means be aware. If you get triggered on that day, it is always in some type of divine alignments, dear ones. That trigger day is a notification that that day is a day to release any darkness, any densities inside your energetic grids, which you are holding. Now, the moment you may get triggered in your day, it is also a moment to recalibrate your emotional systems. When you recalibrate yourself, it then allows deeper access into that emotion of why you got triggered in the first place. Now, we mentioned trigger days not only because of the solar energetics, although in that particular channeling, it was because of an alignment that each of you were going to experience. However, there are individuals on your planet which also are encoded to be trigger energetic individuals. They may not know this, yet they may walk around the civilization and they may trigger people as they go about their day. And that is because this type of frequency is encoded into their energetic grid structures. This is of high value because when you start to identify these individuals, it shall allow you to spend a tiny amount of time with them so that the situation, place, or thing may trigger you in order to allow you to uncover any buried emotions that need to be healed. The more emotions you can heal and clear, the more you can raise in density levels, which then, dear ones, is going to grant access into a higher frequency range. Yes.
Thank you. Wow. Thank you so much, Teresa. And thank you, Elle. So, what are some examples of the solar activities that were going on?
Solar activities are like the eclipse that's coming. That's an energy that is coming from the solar system. The sun, there are many different types of solar coronal mass ejections, so solar flares. We may see tiny ones, we may see larger ones. We go through weeks. And so what the star people are showing me is 1 week, it may be a spiritual week. And so that week, everything flows, it comes to you very rapidly. And then we go through physical weeks. The physical weeks, we tend to stay focused more on physical items. So paying the bills, washing the car, maintaining the household. You'll start to notice that as a physically focused week. And then you'll start to feel the shift back into a spiritual week. Now, the second that you can start to identify this pattern happening in your life, then you'll start to realize, okay, this is a spiritual week. That means I'm meant to have more fun. Things are meant to be easier. I'm not meant to stress over the tiny things about the house or the car or the this or the that. I'm supposed to be enjoying more and just allowing and being at peace. But when you notice you're in a physical week, okay, what changes can I make around the house? And so, Jody, I was just telling everyone this in the past couple of lives. We're releasing right now. Right now is the time. Double down, guys. Right? Like the star people even have me personally doing no technology. So no messages, no, really taking a break from being fully engaged in the technology. And that's a form of releasing, because anything that we're attached to, we have to release resistance to it. We have to let it go. And when we let it go, it lets our energetics heal and clear so that we can bring in new light source information.
Okay. So I think that I was triggered at the beginning of the week with a friendship. Like we had to stop doing YouTube lives together. Like Spirit was telling us it was time to not do that anymore. But I think it triggered and it hurt each of us, our feelings, feeling like she doesn't want to do it anymore. No, she doesn't want to do it anymore. And we kind of like played this dance and whatever. So finally, just by the end of the week, oh my God, no, it's only been 2 days, right?
Tuesday.
only in a couple of days, like we had figured out like that was really hard to say goodbye to something that we really enjoyed, but Spirit was really with us. Is that an example? Because I want to give examples so that other people know what it means. It doesn't mean, I don't think, that somebody has to be a jerk and trigger you in anger. It can be something like that, right?
No. Some people who are encoded with that trigger frequency, they could be the sweetest people. And then they're blissfully unaware of why the people around them always get triggered. It doesn't have to be you or that person triggering the people around them. It just
Okay.
happens and they're around. That's a frequency. It's actually connected to, it's a type of void frequency where or gamma frequency, the star people are saying, that pulses the
Okay.
energy field, which kind of shakes up all the density. So the full moons do that to us in a sense, but it's not gamma or not radiation. It's not a gamma
Okay.
frequency, the star people are saying, but it is a type of frequency that pulses the energy field to allow for that density or darkness to be released. These people have that naturally encoded. You may notice that individuals of that nature may be naturally more connected to the moon. And so, because of this deeper type of connection, what it truly is, dear ones, is an ability to have an attunement to work in the emotion grid field. Those individuals, when they truly step into their divine abilities, they shall be allowed and able to push emotions into the field of other people's outside of them, thus making them a very powerful healer because they have the ability to shake loose the density that you didn't know you were holding. Yes. Thank you.
Interesting.
Thank you, star people.
Thank you so much, because thinking about that in a different way, a triggering person, I just thought, oh,
Yeah.
be an ugly inside type person.
No,
Not necessarily
Yeah.
that are designed to trigger. They're just can be a healer.
Yes. It's a
Right.
blessing. So because
But can it be both?
all abilities may potentially start as a curse. And
Okay.
we see people in the astral field that don't even know that they're in the astral field and they're going through a hard time. And the one gentleman that we have in the Tree of Life organization, he's working in the astral field, and his guides put him through extensive painful astral trauma, and he had to go through it
Right.
over and over again. This is Eldon. Over and
Yes.
over again, he went through it until he
Yep.
overcame the fear and the emotions of having the experience. I had to do very similar things in the physical. So my body was broken. I had to go through all that pain over and over again because my soul itself is in this lifetime is more physically focused in my manifestations. So it's like bringing instantaneous manifestation to my life and my world. What he's doing is more focused in the astral realms. Now, in time, we're going to see people like, which we're already doing it now. We start coming together because we help to bring our gifts together and form one tribe. And now all of a sudden, if I'm trying to will something into the reality, well, I have a person who's able to go into the astral realms and contact the ancestors. He's able to see what potentials are running in the astral field, right? There's so many different abilities that are possible for our manifestations. When we come together we are strong. Because when a tribe of 12 comes together, then all of a sudden we can pull off amazing world-changing manifestations. However, each one of those individuals, they have to know in their heart that this information is true. They have to see it. The only way to truly know it is to see it in your life and know it at your core. And those people, when they come together, it's a different game in the world. Big time. Yeah.
Okay. Why 12?
Well, 12, we have 12 experientials. And so there's a star field above our head. There's 12 triangular points. These points are all one experience that each of you has running over and over and over in your lifetime. So you may have noticed a particular trauma happening over and over until you overcome it. This works the same way with your zodiac system. Each one of the 12 must surround one individual. That makes for 13 individuals total. When that amount of people come together, it shall then allow all of the different fractals of that one higher self to come together to assist in one giant manifestation. The individuals will not or may not recognize that they are all connected to the same or similar higher selves. For the higher selves may also trade out player characters as they see fit, but they will be connected in a form of divine alignment, which shall then allow for these extensive manifestations to transpire.
Well, thank you again, Teresa and Star People. Thank you very much. So we've got, did you hear that?
Of course. I'm like, there's a party. What are you doing back there, Jody?
That's my son. Yeah, that's my son. Nancy says, oh boy, I'm really late. That was from
Nancy.
earlier. Because we're like, should we start? Nancy's not here yet. Nancy, you can come whenever you want.
We said that.
Yeah, for real.
Okay.
So Facebook user says, I am at the point where I really don't get triggered by anything. And
so at that moment, when you don't get triggered by anything, because I walked around saying that for a very long time. Oh, nothing bothers me. I never get triggered. And the Star people were like, you never get triggered, but you're holding on to traumas, and the traumas have to be released. And so what they had me do, and of course I did it with them, but we went through my memories and they found the traumas. And so in your case, if you don't get triggered, then you would have to what's called summoning up a memory. So think about any memory, and all of you guys can do this. Think of any memory that makes you feel uncomfortable, sad, you just don't feel good, whatever the memory, if it triggers an emotion inside of your body. Now, we may not get triggered to the sense of crying or having a reaction, but your body may get triggered and you may not be aware of it. What that feels like is tension or tightness ever so lightly underneath the skin. And then that tension and tightness comes forward because that's the trauma, that's the imprint. But it may not be in your chest, it may be in your back. So it's very important to always grow and cultivate the two-way relationship inside your body, because when your body is nice and loose and react and responsive, then all of a sudden it's going to give you the ability to summon up the memory, summon the emotion. And if your body moves or cringes at all, then you know that emotion is imprinted in the body wherever you moved. Sometimes your feet will move. If you guys have ever seen someone tap their foot, or they may like micro expression, put their hand on their face, that's an emotion that they are resonating. So go through every memory that makes you feel sad and uncomfortable and start seeing, how does my body respond? How does my body feel? And dive in deep. And then one at a time, start releasing each emotion. So if it's sadness, first thing we do is we clear any attachments. The attachments may be cleared with the emotion code, whatever emotion code you see or sense, and then tell that emotion code, get off and go home. Then you have to neutralize the emotion. So it is okay for me to feel sadness, and it is okay for me to release it now. Then you have to go inside and you have to, I love and bless my body. And when you love and bless your body, it then allows you to heal very rapidly. Beautiful.
Thank you.
Yes.
All right. So, Mary Jean says there's only one person that triggers me. It's my 18-year-old daughter. Well, that's all we need is one, right? Sometimes, honestly. And Tasia says, having a trigger day myself over here, how do I know the difference between releasing or just repeating?
Well, how does it make you feel? So when you're releasing it, many times, dear ones, we summon the inner child for full releasing, because when you are repeating, which is a cycle repeat, that means that there is always an original archetypal imprint inside the inner child as well. And so summoning that inner child is going to allow you to go through the experience, feel all of the emotions, and then close your eyes. You want to imagine and visualize the first time you ever had that emotion code. So once again, if the emotion you are experiencing is sadness, think of the first moment that you have ever felt sadness in this life. As you summon the emotion, just blank out your mind and allow your higher self to give you a memory. That memory, when it comes to your mind, you may then summon the inner child from that memory. So we do this by imagining that younger version of yourself and ever so gently placing him or her on a heart to heart hug. And then you should have a conversation that goes something like this: It is okay, dear one, to experience this emotion code. It is okay now to release this emotion code. You are safe. You are loved. You are protected. I am here now. I will protect you. And then, dear ones, say anything that that younger version of yourself needs to hear in order to allow him or her to heal. Once you feel or sense that younger inner child has released this emotion, then you may heart to heart hug with him or her and imagine and visualize a bright white light surrounding you. And as that white light increases in density, you can no longer see that younger version of yourself. And as that white light slowly disappears, that younger self is completely gone because he or she has energetically become inside of you, leaving only you left, leaving any and all emotions that that young child released, the same emotions that will now resonate inside your own body. Excellent. Okay. Thank you, dear star people.
Thank you again, star people. And we have to do that over and over and over, right?
For every emotion code that we each hold and that cycle repeats. You can really do it with any emotion code. So you can go straight down a list of emotions, and for each one, you close your eyes and you allow that memory to come up. And for each emotion code, if there's something that needs to be healed, the higher self will give you that memory. If it's not time, the higher self will not give you that memory. The star people are saying.
Oh, okay. Yes. Interesting.
So it's in alignment with your highest and best. And sometimes some imprints, it may not be time to heal them.
Right. You might not be trying to heal them, or it might not be.
Get a better slingshot into the light realms if that particular emotional imprint becomes released during certain solar energetic frequencies. Yes.
That is interesting. So if we release it too soon, we won't be able to slingshot up to the blessings
as high. Much. It's kind of
That's
like
an amazing way to look at it.
Riding the wave of the solar energies. But I mean, from a human perspective, how are we supposed to know these things? We're not. We're supposed to trust the higher self knows what he, she, or it is doing, because the higher self is a frequency. It's a soul. It doesn't really have a gender. So when we look at it from that perspective, it's kind of like, well, if I'm being guided to heal this today, it means it's in alignment for me to heal it. And that's okay too. And if something is not in alignment to heal it, the opposite has to be true. Because out of all the healings that we've done, many of us feel like we should be good. Like we should be healed. We should be at least 75, 95%.
And we get so impatient and frustrated with ourselves. And really this is like a game changer to think of it that way.
Yeah. The higher self is in control to a degree, right?
Right.
The higher self knows. So the more, and this is a part of releasing resistance. So when you release resistance, it's like putting your life in God's hands or putting your life in the higher self's hands. You're releasing. It's okay for me to be right here in this moment in time because this is where I am meant to be. That doesn't mean don't take physically focused steps. So a physically focused step is you want to buy a house, you have to go get a mortgage, you have to do X, Y, and Z, all the different things. You know you have to do those things because the conscious ego mind knows it. That means you have to get it done. However, if it's in alignment, it'll go very rapidly. If something is not in alignment, it'll go very slow. So being in a release the resistance frequency is, okay, I released, this is where I'm meant to be. And then watching the signs and synchronicities. So if the day is going very fast and you're having fun, and then all of a sudden you get sidetracked to try and help someone, and that's not in alignment, things start messing up, you know that maybe you're not supposed to do that. So you can error correct and go do something else and go back into the higher frequency. That's okay too, whatever the situation is, right? You always want to follow the synchronicities and watch where time and space goes very rapid. Because where you feel like the day is flying fast, that means you're in alignment. And don't forget, certain solar energies, like a spiritual week, a physical week, the physical weeks are designed to assist us in releasing these trapped emotions, which we call densities. The more density we release, it's just like a frequency, up and down, up and down. The more that we go down, we release the darkness. The next go, we go up. And then when we go down, we don't go down as far. So the frequency goes from this, a very wide frequency, to a very fast frequency, a very short one. So, but it comes up and down like this. This is how the soul works. Now, the more and more we can get the frequency very tiny, which is releasing the darkness and slingshotting, it's going to help in the evolution into 5D frequencies. That's a process. That's what we have to get done. So it's like you have to dive in and you have to release all the trapped emotions.
Right. Yes. And we just got a really good way of doing that too. That great technique of the inner child and identifying it. And right now we're identifying it. You know, that's a really good place to be, where before we used to just put it right back down. Yeah. You know, and say, don't come up here today. Right. So Devra says, I got a lot out of that. And not only are we triggered, thank you for that understanding. Gamma frequencies are divine healers and creative. I'm having a great time, even though challenging, but I'm learning so much. And then she's got emojis like holding strong and stuff.
Yay.
Wonderful. Beautiful. So I have a question that came in. So one of my friends had a beautiful experience in the morning of having this telepathic communication with someone that was nonverbal. And the confirmations that this telepathic communication was happening were so clear, such clear confirmations. Then later on that day, her car breaks down. Then the second car had an issue. She got something from spirit that said you have to offset or recalibrate gifts. And that was the reason. She's like, it must be kind of a test or something. So what would the star people say that was all about, this recalibration? And I got the word offset, but we didn't understand what that meant.
You don't understand what the offset meant?
Yeah, like offset or recalibrate.
Oh, okay. So star people, they're like, we do recalibrations all the time. Recalibration complete. Right. That's what the star people say. Because they're like, we recalibrate Jody all the time.
Yeah.
But it's your whole energy grid, and they're recalibrating it back to a high frequency. It's like if a spinning top is spinning and it starts to wobble, recalibrating it means making it spin perfectly straight again. But of course, our emotions can make it unwobble again. That's how this works. So her emotions are making it offset. The spinning top is crooked because her emotions are making it crooked. She has to bring it back into alignment, and she has to recalibrate herself. It's a frequency. That's how they see everything, by a frequency.
Yeah. So in the physical alignment, like she was so into doing this telepathic communication, being up, if you will, up in the upper realms, and kind of being brought back down, recalibrating in this physical world, which literally manifested a lot of chaos.
And that is a thing that I have been through myself. And so in the beginning, of course, because when you get into this type of information, it is important to keep your feet on the ground so that you're aware that you're bringing in very high frequency spiritual topics. There's extrasensory abilities. They're very real, but you can also, sometimes it gets unrelatable to the physical reality. Because if you walk around all day saying, oh, we can move stuff with our mind, we could do this, we could do that. When you say it 100 times, the people around you are like, right? Well, it's fantasy. That's what they think. So when you're bringing in spiritual knowledge, it's good to use a grounding stone. Okay, we can do that. Yes. Now, what's the steps of doing it? The grounding stone gives you the steps to take to get to that level. Do you understand?
Okay.
It allows the spiritual knowledge to be grounded into the physical so that we can use it for something now, or we have a step-by-step guide to getting there. Right? If that's the end game, is the telepathic abilities and psionic abilities, and truly knowing that we're one with everything in the reality and turning this world into like a heaven on earth, then how do we get there? Because that's great if it's in theory, but how do we turn our lives into that? Well, I could tell you from personal experience, I've gone through things in my life and they've been like different types of energetic shifts that I've gone through. And I see them in the microcosm, which is me in my reality. There's a microcosm of me. And then I start to see them in the macrocosm. And so whatever I was going through, I think it was like 8 months to a year later, I started noticing it happening in the civilization. And that's because the way our energetics flow, our soul comes down, it comes out circular in its nature. And when it comes back, it forms sacred geometry. So it makes like a sacred geometric snowflake. That snowflake makes up every single item that we see in the reality. But the entire reality comes from inside of us because it's coming from a frequency inside of us. So we have 3 rings. We have our binary codex frequency ring. That makes up your whole biological form. Then you have your location ring. That location ring is every single location you see, you can touch, you've been there, or you're aware of it. So I'm aware there's a France or a Canada. I've never been to those places, but I'm aware that they exist. That would be in my location ring. Now, your civilization ring, which is the end ring, that's all the planets in the universe and all that stuff. When you go through an experience, it starts to radiate out. No matter how the experience is, it eventually touches into your location ring. So you may start to notice all the reflections happening in the civilization because of an experience that you were going through. That's how it works. Yeah. Yes.
We are so powerful.
Yes.
And perfectly human is saying that this is consistent with inner work of recovery becoming a standard of care in recovery. And that this is what we are trying to do, is this, instead of having Western medicine be the standard of care where here, just take a pill, whatever, this is exactly what the star people are helping us do.
Yes. You also must clear the attachments. And so anybody who has been in any sort of darkness, we've seen people give up addictive behavior cycles and then go 40 years and then fall off a wagon and then they're back into it. And they thought that they had healed all of the emotions and even healed the inner child. You have to throw the attachments off and close the star field. The star field is an energetic field outside of our body. This is our aura field. We have meridians and ley lines. And where these 2 lines cross, it makes a little vortex energetic. And so there's a bunch of different vortexes in our field. And each one of those can be considered like a door that opens and closes, right? Which way is the energy flowing, outwards or inwards? So the trauma pulls it inwards because your heart chakra forms a trauma and it sucks it inwards. And there's also a form of plasma energetics, which is why that plasma pulling inward is making the body sick when we have trapped emotions. So, but when you pull it inwards, the attachment can latch on through that star field. That's how they feed off of us. So be aware of that, because anyone who's done any type of, like alcohol or substances, every single one of the alcohol names and the substance names is an attachment. So for all attachments, you want to speak the name, get the name correct, and then tell it, get off and go home. And then to close the star field doors, I love and bless my body. You can send a white light, clap your hands 3 times, get them nice and hot, get your chi energetic systems flowing, and then send the white light outside to the field, send it inwards to your body. That ensures that those attachments cannot latch back onto you unless you personally have a cycle repeat going and you are unable to clear the inner emotions to that cycle repeat, because the cycle repeat triggers the emotion, which then triggers the star field opening the door. So you have to go in, and the cycle repeat, once again, you have to heal the inner child and you have to fully release that emotion, but it's most likely from an imprint from early childhood. The cycle repeats because we get imprinted from ages 0 or pre-0, from conception to the age of 7.5, the star people are saying. Yes.
Wow. So ancestral karma, how does ancestral karma fit in there?
Well, it's an attunement. So whatever experientials that each of you have an attunement to is always going to be reflect inside of the physical karma of the body. All of that information was selected prior to your jump into the earth portal.
Right. We came here to do this. So it says trigger days may also activate karmic cycles or events into your current reality. Yeah. So that's big. It's not just episodes or feelings. This is activating karmic cycles.
It needs to be healed. And many of the starseeds came to this planet in order to heal for the family that they manifested into. It's our way of assisting humanity as a whole to raise in consciousness.
So we should really be focusing on that this week.
We're focusing on that during our entire lifetime, because whether you realize it or not, if you're getting sick and you have a gene imprint or a family lineage, ancestral karmic imprints, it's all the same thing. That gene imprint is going to allow you to trigger different emotions, which turns on the imprint, causing a disease or a symptom, because all diseases are actually symptoms. So when we start to look at the symptoms and we start to heal and cure it and all sorts of things, then all of a sudden we heal the genetic structure, which then heals it not only energetically for the entire family, because now the family is witnessed, well, one person healed it, now I can heal it too, but it heals it for the future generations that you're going to have. Yes.
Wow. So, and I said this week, we should focus on it this week, because last week the star people said, I think it was Teresa who said, yep, this is going to be a trigger week. So I know that we focus on it all the time, but it felt like this was a big one. And they mentioned it a couple of times.
Yes. So the star people are ever so gently clarifying, dear ones. All diseases being a symptom is true from the channeler's perspective. In our reality, we consider all distortions in energy imbalance. And once each of you cleans up the energetics, the distortion may then disappear from your physical reality. And this is because everything that you see, sense, taste, and touch is a holographic simulation of sorts, meaning it is controlled by the energetic grids as well as your soul form. When the two become one and you fully allow the higher self to embody your physical body, it shall then allow you to radiate a very bright frequency in which you are able to change your biological form as well as teleport, and psionic abilities will thus be activated. And we are sending each of you many, many love and blessings, dear ones. Thank you, star people.
That is so wonderful.
Yes.
So then they talk about positive emotions too. And I was thinking about this last week, we focus so much on releasing the inner child and releasing these densities, but what about the positive, the replaying of the positive events and those memories, right?
So that's how we summon the light codes.
Let's talk about, can we talk about that?
Sure.
Or I can read this paragraph.
It's up to you. You do it.
All right, let me read it and then tell me what you say. Okay. It says visualization of an individual you feel love for is the first way to access this ability. This will allow the thought of a positive life event expression to form in the conscious mind. Feel into the emotional response you emitted during this memory. Allow that emotion to vibrate into every cell and atom in your physical body. This activity shall help rebalance your energy grid structures back into the positive polarity alignment. You may also use physical items to trigger positive emotions. Let's go. And we're back to the crystal.
The Starseed, because I twist it. Sometimes I twist it.
Yeah.
You have to ask yourself, how does it make me feel? And so I went through a pair, it was like a year. It felt like where I started, how does that make me feel? How does it make me feel? Because then you're learning about your body and you're learning, okay, this is how it makes me feel, which is wonderful. Now I know how my body actually feels when I engage in a particular crystal. Well, I've had some crystals where they're just not in alignment with people. And so you may hand someone a crystal and then 2 days later you may take it back because they're like, it's not in alignment. It just didn't make them feel good. And that's because there was not a frequency match to that crystal. That's okay too. I've heard a story from a crystal shop owner once where she said a lady came in and she put a black crystal in her hand and she watched this happen. And the lady was holding it and the crystal exploded. And I said, yeah, because the crystals, they take the hit for us. And so what that means is if you have a lot of like negative toxic energy in your field, the crystal will explode to transmutate that darkness for you. They do this as it's like an honor for them to be able to take a hit for a human. But all crystals do it. They're very conscious. They chatter a lot. They like to talk. They're conscious. You can telepathically communicate with them. And, we think that we're the ones who selects the crystal. It's not that way at all. Because sometimes you'll pick up a crystal and your intuition is like, this one is not the one for me. And that's because a crystal is telling you, I am not the one for you. So they're telepathically telling you, put me back down. It's not going to work.
Put me back down.
Put me back down. Don't touch you. Yeah. That's how they work. I promise you. So,
right.
Yeah. It's beautiful.
So I think that we should open up to any questions now. Because we covered the book. Teresa has come in several times. And if anybody has questions, we've got 15 more minutes. Are you doing the...
Oh, yeah. Shadow Work Zoom tonight.
Yes. You're doing the Shadow Work Zoom? Okay.
Yeah.
All right. Wonderful. Nancy Hadley asks, so gifting someone a crystal isn't a good idea?
You can gift crystals because a crystal always picks where it belongs. And I've seen this. I've seen the crystal, just for better words, like hop through rings of fire to find me. And then all of a sudden, at that moment in time, I was not in alignment to receive the crystal. And it ended up in the shelf in the closet for like, 7, 8 years. And then finally, I realized, wow, it's beautiful, but I never looked at it that way before. And that's because now I stepped into a time in which I am in alignment. So the crystal always picks. So if your heart and your body tells you, oh, they would like this crystal, get it for them, because that information is also coming from the crystal, because the crystal sees through time and space. The crystal picks. Yes.
Right. So Mary Jean says, I've been giving some crystals to strangers.
Yeah.
Isn't that wonderful?
That's wonderful. Well, that's what I used to do as well. I used to, in the beginning, when no one really knew about crystals, you can go on Amazon and you could buy like a pound for like $10. Yeah. So I would buy a whole bowl of the crystals and then I would leave a bunch in my car and I would bless them all. And as I was driving around and I wanted to give someone something, here, take a crystal. It will heal you. Leave it in your pocket. And then all the crystals, you program each one of the points. So if it's a crystal and it has all the points of sides like this, each one of the sides will accept a program. So each side, a program is this. Thank you for making the person happy. Thank you for making them healthy. That's 2 programs. Thank you for unlocking their abundance. That's 3. So you can program it and then you lock the crystal. I lock the crystal so only the owner of the crystal can unlock it. Now the frequency of the crystal won't change until whoever owns it says, I unlock and reprogram you, or clear all the programming. That's how that works. You have to clear the programming. If you hook the crystal up to a computer, you could see this on the computer screen. You tell it clear all the programs and it goes, zoop, and it clears all the programs. We know we use quartz as memory inside of the computers.
Right.
So the crystals are already holding memory. So we know that they hold memory. How does a computer do it? They're sending an electrical impulse or a frequency into the crystal, which is allowing us to perceive the crystal store the memory. What I'm telling you is we're telepathic. We don't need the computer. We just need the crystal. And then in time, we won't even need the crystal because we'll actually telepathically, through meditation, dive in and connect to the quartz collective consciousness, which will allow us to see or perceive all information from that particular crystal. Yes.
Well, I can't wait for that.
It's here already. Start meditating.
Wonderful. And I heard another phrase about abundance, that there's a new template of abundance. So when we're trying to manifest abundance, should we be clearer, I wonder, about, this earth is changing.
You see, and this was the biggest thing of my teaching with the star people, of them teaching me, was with abundance. They said, it doesn't matter if you have $0. Are all your needs being met? And, I look back at 2019 when I was going through my changes and my shift from a negative to a positive, and my home was removed. Money, everything was up in the air. It was what it was, right? It was a transition. During that moment, we had so much fun, and I had watched money come. It changed. And so I was at a Dunkin' Donuts, and I said the story a bunch of times already. I was at Dunkin' Donuts. We were doing Uber. So Uber is great because it teaches you how to manifest instantly. So if you're hungry, you have to get in the car, you Uber, you make enough money, and boom, now all of a sudden you can hit Dunkin' Donuts, you can get fed. That's how we were manifesting instantly back then. This was a teaching lesson in my life. But the one night, I only had $100 bill, and I had already placed an order. So the man had started making 2 coffees and egg sandwiches and donut, whatever we got back then. And I looked at him and I was like, I only have $100 bill. I said it to him 3 times. I only have $100 bills. None of the cards were going to work, but I had $3 wrapped in a receipt, and we were starving. And this was the only place open because it was 3:00 in the morning. And so the Dunkin' Donuts man looked at me and he was like, we don't take $100 bills. This is New York. So of course he pointed to the register. It was $12. So I was like, I have 3. So they were crumpled up in the receipt. Like I took the receipt from the change, crumpled it, threw it in the purse. So I know that's how much. And I stretched it out on the counter. So I uncrumpled it, and it turned into a 10 and 2 singles. And I was like, oh, I have $12. That's what it is. And he was like, no, it's 16. Look again. His machine was like dirty and old, like you couldn't see it. Yeah, it's like the old school registers, like with the numbers that pop up. So I was like, at that point, I was like, well, I don't have it. I have 12. So I took the $12 and I spread them out again, and it turned into a 10, a 5, and a single. And the man looked at me, and his eyes like bulged out of his head.
Wow.
Like, how did you do that? And I was like, you saw it too. And I started like dancing. I was like, yay. So it really is not about how much money you have in the bank. Forget about tomorrow. Just don't think about it for 1 second. Forget about yesterday. Think about in this day, in this moment. Can you spend $10 million in this day, in this moment? All sales of that nature to that caliber all require paperwork anyway. So technically, even if someone gave you a briefcase full of that money, what do you need it for? What do you actually need in this moment? Whatever you need will, in sense, come to you if you're in alignment for it. So sometimes if we tell ourselves, well, we need a mansion, do you really need it? No. Sometimes you have to reorganize. But when you really are in alignment, that is when you unlock your abundance codes, and now you will start manifesting instantly. Once again, when I did this, we were running around laughing all day long. Like, I was in such a high frequency place because all my pain turned off in 2.5 weeks. We were eating salads. Well, we were eating Dunkin' Donuts too. We were going to the beach. We were laughing all day and we were having fun.
Beautiful.
And it was like being like a child again. It was like we were free. And that's how we felt. And when you embody that type of energy of just, when I woke up in the morning, I couldn't wait to put my feet on the floor. My eyes were open. The second my eye blinked, it was like being a child again. It was like when the children, when they open their eyes and they're so excited to wake up, that's how I felt in 2019. And that's when that experience happened. That's a very high frequency. So that's what each and every one of us want to shoot for, because the star people have been telling us, when you are like children and you are happy and blissful and joyful, everything you need falls at your feet when you raise your frequency. But you have to get with the baby step process. You have to release the darker emotions. You have to be happy, right? Now, if cycle repeats come up, you have to handle the cycle repeats. In 2019, we had things come up, right? We had issues where it's you have to go through things. And so, but little by little, we just did our best and we laughed our way through it. We laughed our way through the entire process, and that made it smooth and easy for us. So do that with your lives, and then you're going to see it's just like the location ring where the microcosm reflects out to the macro. Well, whatever you're going through, the more you can laugh about it, you're going to start to see that laughter reflect into the location outside of you. And it must, because it's a bliss frequency. So if you're walking around and you're laughing next to a tree, that tree absorbs that bliss frequency coding and starts to grow 10 times the size. Why? Because it just received that frequency because you were next to it. Everything reflects. Your energy goes out circular. Our aura field, we know it's 6 feet, but it goes out way further than that. It covers like what, 50 feet? Now imagine how many people you come in contact with. And your 50 feet, your aura ring goes out that far. So you have the potential to send a love. It's like a heart chakra blast is what the star people call it, where you just open and expand your heart. And it's very similar to a heart orgasm. And when you send that love out, it touches so many other hearts. We know this through meditation. It works the same as well. So do that. When we in 2019, we started noticing all the plant life looked greener and more like it was poppy, like bright yellow colors. The colors of the world switched for us as well. That's not what it looked like before, though. So really, just being happy is key. And in not only being happy, but we would share. So in those days, if we were down to our last $5 and there was a homeless person who needed money because they were starving, we gave it to them. So we gave away our last dollar bills. And that was just divine faith that we were going to be taken care of because we had a way of making more and it was okay. So that's what we did. But what does that do? It's teaching the civilization, and not the civilization, it's teaching the energy field outside of you. It's okay to release money, even if it's my last. But what happens if you hold on to something too tight? Then you have a lesson to learn because you have to release resistance. So this is why the star people have been training me to release everything. So this week it's technology, but over the past couple of weeks, it was sugar, it was chocolate, it was this, it was that, it was caffeine. I've released so much stuff in my life that you would just like soda, cigarettes. I used to smoke when younger, not younger.
Yeah.
I quit a couple of years.
It feels like a long time ago. It's a totally different life.
It's a different life. I had to fly across the country, and my friend Bree, God bless her soul, she was like, "You're coming to my house. You're not going to have a car, and I'm not letting you smoke, and you're going to quit." And I was like, "Thank you." And that's exactly what we did.
Honesty.
Yeah.
Yes.
It is. But I got it done. Right.
As far as like giving money away, you gave your last $5 away.
Yes.
And so we hear this a lot about giving money away, having that faith that it will come back. Is it also true, though, that the more money you give away, the more you get back, or by giving it away, expecting to get more back is the opposite of the point?
Yes. You can't have any expectations. That's number one. We gave it to, the homeless person, not because we expected the universe to bless us, because that was all up in the air in those days. It was because we loved him and we didn't want to see him starve. That was the only reason why we gave money away. Now, I do know whatever we put out in the universe, it comes back to us tenfold. So if you're putting out a frequency of, it's okay for me to share everything, then that is what you're going to get back. People are going to share with you. And so I've had conversations where, people talk about if the end of the world is coming, you have to save your food. And I was like, not happening. I'm going to feed all my neighbors. Right? Sorry. I'm going to open the doors. And if they are hungry, we'll make a pot of rice. What you going to do? And so, but that's always been the way I roll because, what are you going to do? You're going to sit there and eat while you're going to watch someone starve. That's not in alignment at all. So when we come together as one tribe, it's like, well, what do you got a 20-pound bag of rice. You got potatoes. You got this. I got this. So why don't we portion it all? And why don't we cook together? And we'll become one tribe throughout this process so that when we have more food, we'll pull more food in. And then all of a sudden we all eat together. And now we know each other. Now we're family. Right. So which
new template for abundance.
That's how it is.
That's the new template for abundance.
Yes. You have to do it together as a team. Everyone has to be forming these tiny tribes. Right? Pull your friends together. And what are we going to do? How are we going to change the world? How are we going to take baby steps? And you don't have to do big things. You can change the world simply by helping someone cross the street or opening a door for someone. You can change the world by smiling at people when they cut you off. It's okay that you are in that type of rush. Go. I send you many love and blessings. It's okay to shine more light. And it's okay to allow them to have their own experiences, even if they respond to you with any type of negativity. That's okay too. We are the way showers. We are the one who are stepping into higher frequencies. That comes with more love. So we love ourselves first, but then once that cup of self-love is full, we allow it to overflow for all beings. And then that is how we change the world. If anyone's ever seen the Allstate commercial from like years ago, right? They showed how one lady opened the door and someone saw. And then that someone who saw her open the door, he went and he did something nice for someone. And then someone witnessed that kindness. And then it spread like wildfire. And so we also know about pay it forward. So pay it forward, right, is when you do something kind for someone. And instead of accepting anything in return, you tell them, pay it forward. Do kind deeds for other people. That's all I ask.
Say that you'll do the same for someone else someday.
Yes.
You absolutely will. And that's what the light workers are doing by going through our trauma, sharing our healing. And someone's like, thank you so much for helping. No, somebody did this for me.
Yes. Yeah. The star people came down and they helped heal me. Right. Yeah. And it was giving me the template for this is how you guys heal. This is how you do this work. So now I know, now I'm telling you guys, take this. You have to put it into practice first. You have to do it on yourself. You have to know it works for yourself. Then take it and help other people. That's how we make the change. Yeah.
Beautiful. Yes. All right. It is 7:59. You're going to have the Shadow Work Zoom tonight. We'll talk about the retreat on Thursday night. We're on for Thursday night, the live. We'll talk about the next retreat.
Excellent.
And thank you so much, Star People. And thank you so much, Elle. Thank you, Teresa, for coming. This was a great one.
Thank you guys so incredibly much for joining us tonight. Thank you, dear Star People, for this beautiful channeling tonight. Thank you, Jody Powers, for always joining us and having fun and bringing forward the most amazing questions. Thank you guys for sending in your questions. And so thank you guys very much for joining us. Anybody who's new, we do the Shadow Work Zoom. So you have to go to daniellelipton.com. Send me a message. This is only to prevent from the spammers coming. I send you guys a free Zoom link, and then we do the Shadow Work Zooms every Tuesday and Thursday at 8:30 p.m. If I'm not going to be available for the live or the Shadow Work Zoom, I post up to my Facebook. So this way you guys know Save the Zoom link. It works for all of the Zooms. You guys have a wonderful night and many, many love and blessings.
Wonderful. Mwah.